All right. So this is something I do all the time. Well, I watch every single State of the Union since I've been like 17 years old. So I'm just gonna, for the first time, just you can see the look on my face while I'm watching the State of the Union. I don't know why you would want to do that, but what the hell, right? I don't know who any of these people are. And I need a soda. And I'm out of ice. This might not go well. I think they actually like named all these people. There's like seats in the upper section though that normally those are full, and there's like nobody up there. I wonder if they're gonna put more people in it, but there were like in like the upper section there's like 10 people with Ukrainian flags. I have no idea. So yeah, I we got Supreme Court justices, we got representatives from the United States military, very historic State of the Union, considering it's like the worst State of the Union that I know of since Carter. And keep in mind, I was just a little kid during Carter. People calling this the Carter 2.0 presidency. That's pretty sad. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard of. Nancy Pelosi's got the mic all the way down on the table so that she doesn't accidentally hot mic. And I am getting my Pepsi ready. I know a lot of people like to drink during the State of the Union. I don't drink. I love drinking, but I just don't drink. It's just not something that I can do. Pepsi. This thing was supposed to get on, yep, at 8 o'clock. So we need to get a move on. They still need to do the whole procession where they wander the president in. They gotta pan out. They gotta show the upper section at some point, right? I want to see if people are filling in or not. You would think everybody would be in there. Still got people wandering around and shaking hands. General General Milley is there. I'm not a big fan of him. Don't know who that is. I don't know who any of these people are except for like the main villains. They're all villains, not just all of them, except for Rand Paul. Yep. There's Shift. God, that guy is creepy. Holy cow, I would not trust him with my kids or dogs. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry to say that, but just based on looks, that guy is creepy. I've never been let down by that Spidey sense either. Do you think the Supreme Court judges are wearing like a dickie with like garters holding up things that look like pant legs? He's just free balling underneath that gown. Robe, I guess. Correct term. Free balling judges. Gets real freaky in those chambers. All right, here we go. Here comes somebody. Boy, those people in front of him, they look awfully suspicious. Like, do you not trust these people or what? How close do you need to stand to him? She keeps checking back, like, is he still there? You better stop, lady. You better give him. Just walk up like one row at a time. He can hit you in the back when he's ready to move. I don't know if I've ever seen that where they're just. All right, get out of his way. Make it so he can go up to the podium. So impatient. These things are so boring. Wow. Look at that dress. Holy cow. That was a stunner. Look at that. I kind of like that. Who's that? I think you guys know the dress, right? There it goes. Is Nancy going to tear up this speech too? All right.
Thank you all very, very much.
Now he's talking.
Thank you. Please. Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justices of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again. Tonight, we meet as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with the duty to one another, to America, to the American people, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve that freedom will always triumph over tyranny.
Boy, read the crowd here. Holy cow, we're at like half capacity for the State of the Union. We're at half capacity just on, and look up there, those are empty seats up on the top corner there.
6 days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways. But he badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined. He met the Ukrainian people.
It's fair, because the Biden administration did nothing to stop Putin. If anything,
And President Zelensky, to every Ukrainian, their fearlessness, their courage, their determination literally inspires the world. Groups of citizens blocking tanks with their bodies, everyone from students to retirees to teachers, turned soldiers defending their homeland. And in this struggle, President Zelensky said in his speech to the European Parliament, "Light will win over darkness." The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States is here tonight, sitting with the First Lady. Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
The COVID readiness sitting mature apart from each other. And I see that everyone in this building has been recently tested.
She's bright, she's strong, and she's resolved. Yes, we, the United States of America, stand with the Ukrainian people. Throughout our history, we've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving, and the cost, the threats to America and America to the world keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II. The United States is a member, along with 29 other nations. It matters. American diplomacy matters. American resolve matters. Putin's latest attack on Ukraine was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected repeated efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home, in this chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong. We are ready. We are united, and that's what we did. We stayed united. We prepared extensively and carefully. We spent months building coalitions of other freedom-loving nations in Europe and the Americas, from America to the Asian and African continents, to confront Putin. Like many of you, I spent countless hours unifying our European allies. We shared with the world in advance what we knew Putin was planning and precisely how we would try to falsify and justify his aggression. We countered Russia's lies with the truth. And now that he's acted, the free world is holding him accountable. along with 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, even Switzerland, are inflicting pain on Russia and supporting the people of Ukraine. Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been. Together,
it's good rhetoric.
Together,
does anybody think that Putin cares? Right? I mean, this is now up to the Russian people to decide whether or not.
Together, along with our
this.
allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest banks from the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin's $630 billion war fund worthless. We're choking Russia's access. We're choking Russia's access to technology that will sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come. Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who bilked billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more. The United States, I mean it. The United States Department of Justice is assembling a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for your ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy.
Well, we've been stopping planes for a couple of days, haven't we? That's not new. And
he has no idea what's coming. The ruble has already lost 30% of its value. The Russian stock market has lost 40% of its value, and trading remains suspended. The Russian economy is reeling, and Putin alone is the one to blame. Together with our allies, we're providing support to the Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Military assistance, economic assistance, humanitarian assistance. We're giving more than $1 billion of direct assistance to Ukraine, and will continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend their country and help ease their suffering.
China is still a trading partner with Russia, so they're not going to run out of computers anytime soon, or iPads, or phones.
But let me be clear. Our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments to protect NATO countries, including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And as I've made crystal clear, the United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. Every single inch. And we're clear-eyed. The Ukrainians are fighting back with pure courage. But the next few days, weeks, and months will be hard on them. Putin has unleashed violence and chaos, but while he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run. And a pound of Ukrainian people, the proud, proud people, pound for pound, ready to fight with every inch of energy they have. They've known 30 years of independence, have repeatedly shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. To all Americans, I'll be honest with you, as I always promised I would be. A Russian dictator invading a foreign country has cost around the world. And I'm taking robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy, and that we use every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers. Tonight, I can announce the United States has worked with 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves around the world. America will lead that effort, releasing 30 million barrels of our own strategic petroleum reserve. And we stand ready to do more if necessary, united with our allies. These steps will help blunt gas prices here at home, but I know news about what's happening can seem alarming to all Americans. But I want you to know we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
Say Keystone.
When the history of this era is written, Putin's war in Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. Well,
say Keystone.
While it shouldn't, taken something so terrible for people around the world to see what's at stake, now everyone sees it clearly. We see the unity among leaders of nations, a more unified Europe, a more unified West. We see unity among the people who are gathering in cities and large crowds around the world, even in Russia, to demonstrate their support for the people of Ukraine. In the battle between democracy and autocracies, democracies are rising to the moment, and the world is clearly choosing the side of peace and security. This is the real test, and it's going to take time. So let us continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people. To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world.
So now we have to stand for this, which is fine.
We meet tonight in an America that has lived through two of the hardest years this nation has ever faced. The pandemic has been punishing, and so many families are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to keep up with the rising cost of food, gas, housing, and so much more. I understand, like many of you did. My dad had to leave his home in Scranton, Pennsylvania to find work. So like many...
Oh, Jesus Christ. His dad in Scranton, Pennsylvania had to go leave and find work. So let me see, what was that? That had to be like 65 years ago, something like that? Are you fucking kidding me? 65 years ago, what, 1940 your dad had to go? Before the invent of fucking modern jet travel? Come on.
Many of you, I grew up in a family when the price of food went up, it was felt throughout the family. It had an impact. That's when one of the first things I did as president was fight to pass the American Rescue Plan. Because people were hurting, we needed to act, and we did. Few pieces of legislation have done more at a critical moment in our history to lift us out of a crisis. It fueled our efforts to vaccinate the nation and combat COVID-19, delivered immediate economic relief to tens of millions of Americans. It helped put food on the table. Remember those long lines of cars waiting for hours just to get a box of food put in their trunk. It cut the cost of health care insurance. And as my dad used to say, it gave the people just a little bit of breathing room. Unlike the $2 trillion tax cut passed in the previous administration that benefited the top 1% of Americans, the American Rescue Plan helped working people and left no one behind. Folks, and it worked.
Did it
work?
Work? Did it though? Did it work? That's the question. Legitimately, that's the question. Wow,
it worked. It created jobs, lots of jobs. In fact, our economy created over 6.5 million new jobs just last year. More jobs in 1 year than ever before in the history of the United States of America.
These are all like Uber Eats jobs.
The economy grew at a rate of 5.7 last year, the strongest growth rate in 40 years. and the first step in bringing fundamental change to our economy that hasn't worked for working people in this nation for too long. For the past 40 years, we were told that tax break for those at the top and benefits would trickle down and everyone would benefit. But that trickle-down theory led to a weaker economic growth, lower wages, bigger deficits, and a widening gap between the top and everyone else in nearly a century. Look,
What?
Vice President Harris and I ran for office, and I realize we have fundamental disagreements on this,
I'm not so
but
sure
ran
he
for
does.
office with a new economic vision for America. Invest in America, educate Americans, grow the workforce, build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down, because we know because we know when the middle class grows, the poor have a way up and the wealthy do very well. America used to have the best roads, bridges, and airports on earth, and now our infrastructure is ranked 13th in the world. We won't be able to compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix it. That's why it was so important to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I thank my Republican friends who joined to invest and rebuild America, the single biggest investment in history. It was a bipartisan effort, and I want to thank the members of both parties who worked to make it happen. We're done talking about infrastructure weeks. We're now talking about an infrastructure decade. And look, it's going to transform America, to put us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century that we face with the rest of the world, particularly China. I've told Xi Jinping it's never been a good bet to bet against the American people. We'll create good jobs for millions of Americans, modernizing roads, airports, ports, waterways, all across America. And we'll do it to withstand the devastating effects of climate change and promote environmental justice. We'll build a national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Begin to replace the poisonous lead pipes so every child, every American has clean water to drink at home and at school. We're going to provide affordable, high-speed internet for every American, rural, suburban, urban, and tribal communities. 4,000 projects have already been announced. Many of you have announced them in your districts. And tonight, I'm announcing that this year, we will start fixing over 65,000 miles of highway and 1,500 bridges in disrepair. And folks, when we use taxpayers' dollars to rebuild America, we're going to do it by buying America. Buy American products. Support American jobs. The federal government spends about $600 billion a year to keep this country safe and secure. There's been a law on the books for almost a century to make sure taxpayers' dollars support American jobs and businesses. Every administration, Democrat and Republican, says they'll do it, but we're actually doing it. We'll buy America to make sure everything from the deck of an aircraft carrier to the steel on highway guardrails is made in America from beginning to end. All of it. All of it.
The Chinese have this whole way of bringing steel into the United States without paying tariffs, and they're making it look like it was
to compete for the jobs of the future, we also need a level playing field with China and other competitors. That's why it's so important to pass the Bipartisan Innovation Act sitting in Congress that will make record investments in emerging technologies and American manufacturing. We used to invest almost 2% of our GDP in research and development. We don't now. China is. Let me give you one example why it's so important to pass. If you travel 20 miles east of Columbus, Ohio, you'll find 1,000 empty acres of land. It won't look like much, but if you stop and look closely, you'll see a field of dreams, the ground on which America's future will be built. That's where Intel, the American company that helped build Silicon Valley, is going to build a $20 billion semiconductor megasite, up to 8 state-of-the-art factories in one place, 10,000 new jobs. And in those factories, the average job about $135,000 a year. Some of the most sophisticated manufacturing in the world to make computer chips the size of a fingertip, that power the world in everyday lives.
They better be
from
smaller than a
smartphones,
fingertip.
technology, the internet,
That
technology
factory
is yet to
probably
be
5
invented.
years, 6 years out.
But that's just the beginning.
Full production.
Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who is here tonight, I don't know where Pat is. Pat, there you go, Pat, stand up.
Who's that sitting behind Pat?
Pat, Pat came to see me and he told me they're ready to increase their investment from $20 billion to $100 billion. That would be the biggest investment in manufacturing in American history. And all they're waiting for is for you to pass this bill. So let's not wait any longer. Send it to my desk, I'll sign it, and we'll really take off in a big way. And folks,
Who's that texting?
Intel is not alone. There's something happening in America. Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas. That's what's happening. Ford is investing $11 billion in electric vehicles, creating 11,000 jobs across the country. GM is making the largest investment in its history, $7 billion to build electric vehicles, creating 4,000 jobs in Michigan. All told, 369,000 new manufacturing jobs were created in America last year alone.
Is he trying to take credit for car companies selling us shit that
Folks,
should be selling us anyway? What the fuck is going on here?
powered by people I've met like JoJo Burgess from generations of union steelworkers in Pittsburgh, who's here tonight. Where are you, JoJo? There you go. Thanks, buddy. As Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says, Sherrod Brown says it's time to bury the label Rust Belt. It's time to see what used to be called the Rust Belt become the home of a significant resurgence of manufacturing. And with all the bright spots in our economy, record job growth, higher wages, too many families are struggling to keep up with their bills. Inflation is robbing them of gains they thought otherwise they would be able to feel.
Robbing
I get it.
everybody of everything.
That's why my top priority is getting prices under control. Look, our economy roared back faster than almost anyone predicted. But the pandemic meant that businesses had a hard time hiring enough people because of the pandemic to keep up production in their factories. So you didn't have people making those beams that went into buildings because they were out. The factory was closed. The panic also disrupted the global supply chain. Factories close. When that happens, it takes longer to make goods and get them to the warehouses, to the stores, and prices go up. Look at cars last year. 1/3 of all the inflation was because of automobile sales. There weren't enough semiconductors to make all the cars that people wanted to buy. And guess what? Prices of automobiles went way up, especially used vehicles as well. And so we have a choice. One way to fight inflation is to drive down wages and make Americans poorer. I think I have a better idea to fight inflation.
What?
Lower your costs, not your wages. Folks,
Versus price fixing? What is he talking about? Government price fixing? How do you do that? How does the government do that and still tax
That
us
means
even
make
more?
more cars and semiconductors in America, more infrastructure and innovation in America, more goods moving faster and cheaper in America, more jobs where you can earn a good living in America. Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America. Look, economists,
He sounds like Trump.
economists call this increasing the productive capacity of our economy. I call it building a better America. My plan to fight inflation will lower your costs and lower the deficit. 17 Nobel laureates in economics said
17.
my plan will ease long-term inflationary pressures.
Only 17.
Top business leaders, and I believe most Americans support the plan. And here's the plan. First, cut the cost of prescription drugs.
Okay, this is all
We pay more
for
the same drug produced by the same company
for 30 years.
in America than any other country in the world. Just look at insulin. 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. In Virginia, I met a 13-year-old boy, the handsome young man standing up there, Joshua Davis. He and his dad both have type 1 diabetes, which means they need insulin every single day. Insulin costs about $10 a vial to make. That's what it costs the pharmaceutical company. But drug companies charge families like Joshua and his dad up to 30 times that amount. I spoke with Joshua's mom. Imagine what it's like to look at your child who needs insulin to stay healthy and have no idea how in God's name you're going to be able to pay for it. What it does to your family, but what it does to your dignity, your ability to look your child in the eye, to be the parent you expect yourself to be. I really mean to think about that. That's what I think about. You know, yesterday, Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way. For Joshua and 200,000 other young people with type 1 diabetes, let's cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month so everyone can afford it. And drug companies will do very, very well, their profit margin. While we're at it, I know we have great disagreements on this floor with this. Let's let Medicare negotiate the price of prescription drugs. They already set the price for VA drugs. Look, the American Rescue Plan is helping millions of families with Affordable Care Act plans to save.
You don't want me to pause the video and talk about VA prescription drug plans. All of you middle class people out there, upper middle class with your good insurance plans,
Save them $2,400 a year on their health premiums. Let's close the coverage gap and make these savings permanent. And second, let's cut energy costs for families, an average of $500 a year by combating climate change. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home and your business, to be energy efficient and get a tax credit.
how about just cutting some of the taxes that normal people have to pay like crazy?
For it. Double America's clean energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving another $80 a month that you're not going to have to pay at the
Look
pump.
at this Muppet shaking
Folks,
their head.
the third thing we can do to change the standard of living for hardworking folks is cut the cost of child care. Cut the cost of child care. Folks,
in the
If
long
you live
run,
in a major city in America, you'd pay up
state
to
has no business watching your
$14,000 a year
kids.
for child care per child. I was a single dad for 5 years, raising 2 kids. I had a lot of help, though. I had a mom, a dad, a brother, and a sister that really helped. But middle class and working folks shouldn't have to pay more than 7% of their income to care for the young children. My plan.
The guy who raised Hunter Biden with nannies and security and cooks and maids would like for you to know that he feels your pain.
My plan would cut the cost of child care in half for most families and help parents, including millions of women who left the workforce during the pandemic because they couldn't afford child care, to be able to get back to work, generating economic growth. But my plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care, more affordable housing, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. All these will lower costs to families. And under my plan, nobody, let me say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes. Not a single penny. I may be wrong.
He's wrong.
But my guess is if we took a secret ballot in this floor, that we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair. We have to fix it.
You moron.
I'm not looking to punish anybody. But let's make corporations and wealthy Americans start paying their fair share.
Well, we just have a flat tax.
Last year,
10%.
Last year,
look at this Muppet. Oh
like
my God.
Chris Coons and
Sit
Tom
the fuck
Carper
down. Why are you in
and
purple
my
anyway?
distinguished congresswoman,
Fucking Barney.
we come from the land of corporate America. There are more corporations incorporated in America than every other state in America combined. And I still won 36 years in a row. The point is, even they understand they should pay just a fair share. Last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 companies earned $40 billion in profit and paid zero in federal taxes.
They say this shit every year, every election, 30-something years, nothing changes. I don't know why the American people fall for this line every single time it's fed to them. Nothing is changing. I want you to look at Nancy Pelosi right now. She is making a buttload of money off of $100 oil, and probably Biden is too in some way. I mean, if he can, the big guy.
Now look, it's not fair. That's why I proposed a 15% minimum tax rate for corporations. We've got, and that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas, we're able to put together, I was able to be somewhat helpful, 130 countries agree on a global minimum tax rate. So companies can't get out of paying their taxes at home by shipping jobs and factories overseas.
Global minimum
It'll raise
tax rate
billions of dollars.
of companies.
That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who don't pay, who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter. So that's my plan, but we'll go more detail later. We will grow the economy.
Flat tax.
Lower the cost of families.
Flat tax.
So what are we waiting for? Let's get this done. We all know we've got to make changes.
The idea is not to make it worse. Not at all.
And while you're at it, confirm my nominees for the Federal Reserve, which plays a critical role in fighting inflation.
Ban the Federal Reserve.
My plan will not only lower costs and give families a fair shot, it will lower the deficit. The previous administration not only ballooned the deficit with those tax cuts for the very wealthy and corporations, it undermined the watchdogs, the job of those to keep pandemic relief funds being wasted. Remember we had those debates about whether or not those watchdogs should be able to see every day how much money was being spent, where was it going to the right place? But in my administration, The watchdogs are back. And we're going to go after the criminals who stole billions of relief money meant for small business and millions of Americans. Tonight, I'm announcing that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud. And look.
Wait a minute, what? A prosecutor for pandemic fraud?
I think we all agree. Thank you. By the end of this year, the deficit will be down to less than half of what it was before I took office. The only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year.
What about the debt?
Lowering your cost also meant demanding more competition. I'm a capitalist.
Okay. In case you don't realize this, the deficit doesn't mean anything. The deficit doesn't mean anything. It's the debt. It's two different things. They're not the same thing.
But capitalism without competition is not capitalism. Capitalism without competition is exploitation. It drives up profits. And corporations have to compete. Their profits go up and your prices go up when they don't have to compete. Small businesses and family farmers and ranchers, I need not tell some of my Republican friends from those states. Guess what? You got 4 basic meat packing facilities. That's it. You play with them or you don't get to play at all.
They've been regulated out of the business.
A hell of a lot more because there's only 4. See what's happening with ocean carriers and moving goods in and out of America. During the pandemic,
like 70% of our supply problem right now is California. It is nothing else. It is California.
About half a dozen or less foreign-owned companies raised prices by as much as 1,000% and made record profits. Tonight, I'm announcing a crackdown on those companies overcharging American businesses and consumers. And folks, and as Wall Street firms take over more nursing homes, quality in those homes has gone down and costs have gone up. That ends on my watch. Medicare is going to set higher standards for nursing homes and make sure your loved ones get the care they deserve and that they inspect and they will look at closely. We're also going to cut costs to keep the economy going strong and giving workers a fair shot, provide more training and apprenticeships, hire them based on skills, not just their degrees. Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and extend the child tax credit so no one has to raise a family in poverty. Let's increase Pell Grants, increase our historic support for HBCUs, and invest in what Jim...
See, I'm not even shaking my head at what you think I'm shaking my head at. I'm shaking my head at the pile of cost, the pile of money, the pile that we need for what this president is currently talking about.
Our First Lady, who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret community colleges. Look, let's pass the PRO Act. When a majority of workers want to form a union, they shouldn't be able to be stopped. When we invest in our workers and we build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out together, we can do something we haven't done in a long time: build a better America. For more than 2 years, COVID has impacted every decision in our lives and the life of this nation. And I know you're tired, frustrated, and exhausted. That doesn't even count the close to 1 million people who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and look at an empty chair because they lost somebody. But I also know this: because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by.
Under no circumstance should the United States or any free country ever allow their government to shut down businesses. Some of the things that he's talking about spending money on is to fix the fact that the government jumped in and fucked everything up to begin with. And
by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to more normal routines. We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19, where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Just a few days ago, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new mask guidelines. Under the new guidelines, most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on projections, more of the country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the progress we've made in the past year, COVID-19 no longer needs
they should
control
put little
our
names
lives.
underneath everybody.
I know some are talking about living with COVID-19, but tonight I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus as we do other diseases.
Yeah.
And because this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard.
Mutates,
and here are
spreads,
4 common sense steps as we move forward safely, in my view. First, stay protected with vaccines and treatments. We know how incredibly effective vaccines are. If you're vaccinated and boosted, you have the highest degree of protection. We'll never give up on vaccinating more Americans. Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see their vaccines authorized for their children.
No,
scientists are working hard to get that done. We'll be ready with plenty of vaccines if and when they do.
There's a lot that's
We're all ready. We are also ready with antiviral treatments. If you get COVID-19, the Pfizer pill reduces your chances of ending up in the hospital by 90%. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world has. Pfizer is working overtime to get us 1 million pills this month and more than double that next month.
Funny.
And now we're launching the Test to Treat initiative. So people can get tested at a pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no cost. And folks, if you're
that's going to be expensive as fuck too.
If you're immunocompromised or have some other vulnerability, we have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward. On testing, we've made hundreds of millions of tests available, and you can order them for free to your doorstep. And we've already ordered free tests. If you already ordered free tests tonight, I'm announcing you can order another group of tests,
Just if anybody sees this and sees a specific part where I'm talking right now, if there's a specific website to order the crack pipes, put that down there. I don't smoke crack, and I don't think anybody should smoke crack, but I have a feeling that those will go for a lot of money on eBay, especially if they're unused.
Go to covidtest.gov starting next week, and you can get more tests.
Crackpipe.gov.
Second, we must prepare for new variants. Over the past, we've gotten much better at detecting new variants. If necessary, we'll be able to develop new vaccines in 100 days instead of maybe
that
months
guy's
or
up
years.
to something.
And if Congress provides the funds we need, we'll have new stockpiles of tests, masks, pills ready if needed. I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to be ready if it does. Third, we can end the shutdown of schools and businesses. We have the tools we need. It's time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people. People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. We're doing that here in the federal government.
No one wants to return to the office. They are being passive aggressive like crazy. No one wants to return to the office. No one wants to.
The vast majority of federal workers will once again work in person. Our schools are open. Let's keep it that way. Our kids need to be in school.
Now they want to keep the kids in school after they retarded learning for a year and a half.
With 75% of adult Americans fully vaccinated and hospitalizations down by 77%, most Americans can remove their masks and stay in the classroom and move forward safely. We achieved this because we provided free vaccines, treatments, tests, and masks. Of course, continuing this costs money, so I'll not surprise you. I'll be back to see you all. And I'm going to soon send a request to Congress.
For a lot
the vast majority of Americans have used these tools. We may want again. We may need them again. So I expect Congress, and I hope you'll pass that quickly. Fourth, we'll continue vaccinating the world. We've sent 475 million vaccine doses to 112 countries, more than any nation on Earth. We won't stop because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread.
Nancy's face went like, "Oh, don't remind him of the wall."
We've lost so much in COVID-19.
Don't remind him of the border. We're not talking about the border.
Another. The worst of all, much the loss of life. Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is, a god-awful disease. Let's stop seeing each other as enemies.
Every part, every layer of every problem that is from COVID is because of government in one way or another, whether it's the Chinese government or whether it's the federal government or whether it was the state level governments. And a lot of it was the state level governments that created all these lockdowns and problems, right?
Enemies. And start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans. Look. We can't change how divided we've been. It was a long time in coming. But we can change how to move forward on COVID-19 and other issues that we must face together. I recently visited New York City Police Department days after the funerals of Officer Wilbur Mora and his partner, Officer Jason Rivera. They were responding to a 9/11 call when a man shot and killed them with a stolen gun. Officer Moore was 27 years old. Officer Rivera was 22 years old. Both Dominican Americans who grew up in the same streets that they later chose to patrol as police officers. I spoke with their families, and I told them that we were forever in debt for their sacrifices and will carry on their mission to restore the trust and safety of every community deserves. Like some of you that have been around for a while, I've worked with you on these issues for a long time. I know what works. Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers. That's why the American Rescue Plan that you all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies. Proven strategies like...
So we're not defunding police
Proven
anymore?
strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma, and giving young people some hope. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police.
Oh, 180. Whoop. Yep.
Fund them.
Such fucking bullshit. Oh my God, such fucking bullshit. Such utter fucking bullshit. Oh my God, 4 years of watching the Democratic Party let Antifa set the fucking world on fire. Defund the police platforms. And here we are, 180.
Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities. I ask Democrats and Republicans alike to pass my budget and keep our neighborhoods safe. And we'll do everything in my power to crack down on gun trafficking of ghost guns that you can buy online, assemble at home.
Well, no shit. It's anything you can build yourself from scratch. I can go buy a block of aluminum and I can turn that into a receiver and then I can buy parts. What This is America, this backdoor gun bullshit. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. These people are so stupid. Oh my Lord. These are not complicated high technology devices. Anybody can make any of this shit. But what he's going after, you're not going to like because it's going to affect a shit ton more than guns in the future. But ghost guns, what a retard.
No serial numbers. Can't be traced. I asked Congress to pass proven measures to reduce gun violence.
Traced, you're not supposed to be tracing these firearms anyway. I mean, once it's sold, they're supposed to get rid of those records, I thought, or that's my understanding. They're not supposed to be keeping those things for till the end of time. I have firearms that I've bought and sold and traded. I'm not telling them who I bought and sold and traded anything with. Man, I know they weren't criminals, so they can fuck off. Holy cow.
Pass universal background checks. Why should anyone on the terrorist list be able to?
We already have background checks. This is the same bullshit since 2008. This is nothing new. These are all lies. None of them are backed by statistics or crime statistics. So this is absolute fucking filler. This is bullshit filler.
To purchase a weapon. Why? And folks, ban assault weapons with high-capacity magazines hold up to 100 rounds. You think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests?
Nobody is talking about hunting. This, let's go to the hunting analogy, is bullshit. It's a lie. It doesn't matter. Nobody needs high speed cars. Nobody needs high speed motorcycles. Nobody needs high speed internet. Screw you and your high capacity magazines. Now they have to go to 100 rounds because the United States has bought so many weapons that everybody has finally realized that a rifle with a 30 round magazine is a standard capacity in magazine. That's standard, right? These 100 rounders haven't been around that long because they haven't been reliable. Well, now there's 2 or 3 reliable above 30 round magazines that you can use in rifles, and now they're flipping out about that. This is you do not have to be a rocket scientist to look at the crime statistics of places where there's heavy gun control compared to places where there's not heavy gun control. There are more people getting shot in Chicago than there is almost anywhere on the planet per capita per like 5 square miles, right? You can look at shootings on the crime statistic map and you can say, "Oh shit, they're like 80% of the shootings are in this 4 square mile radius. Why can't they stop that?" And it's like, "Well, we need to stop the guns." And it's like, "Well, no, wait a minute. You know where that crime is. Just put a cop on every corner till it stops." And they're not going to do that.
Yes. Look, repeal the liability shield. It makes gun manufacturers the only industry in America that
It is not the only industry. When you build something and it functions perfectly, it doesn't matter. If somebody takes a vehicle and they drive it into a McDonald's killing people, you can't sue Ford because the car worked perfectly in that case, right? I mean, that'd be like, what are you going to go? This starts with guns and it ends up going after knives. And people laugh at that, but that is already the slippery slope that many countries, a couple countries, I should say, not many, but a couple countries have already started going down. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is not where the nation wants to go. They recently allowed you, the Supreme Court recently said you're allowed to carry nunchucks in New York and you're allowed to carry swords in Texas. So God, this drives me nuts. Yeah, back on gun control because they've lost everything else.
They can't be sued. The only one.
It's a lie.
Imagine
It's
had we done that
ridiculous,
with the
and it's a
tobacco
lie.
manufacturers. These laws don't infringe on the Second Amendment. They save lives. The most fundamental right in America is
Biggest
the
lie
right to
ever.
vote.
That's the biggest lie ever. That 100% infringes on the Second Amendment. It's
And have it counted. And look, it's under assault. In state after state, new laws have been passed. Not only to suppress the vote, we've been there before, but to subvert the entire election. We can't let this happen. Tonight I call on the Senate to pass the Freedom to Vote Act, pass the John Lewis Act, Voting Rights Act.
assuming that people are incapable of getting a state photo ID. So many levels of stupid. So many levels of stupid, assuming that you can't make the state IDs free, make driver's licenses free. I'm for that. Hell, while we're spending money, that'll solve it right there. Anybody can go. If you can't pass your driver's test, then you get a state ID. Use that. I'm so tired of this debate also. This is another loser of a debate in my mind. It's nonsense and it's
And while
utter
you're at it,
nonsense.
pass the Disclose Act so Americans know who's funding our election. Look, tonight,
No,
I like to.
no, it sounds great, but you know what? We have people going after companies and employees that gave $50 to $300 to a political candidate. That's stupid. That's the federal government making a law that's going to dox people. So you want what's happening in Canada? Anytime you give money to something that the government doesn't approve of, you take a chance of having your shit frozen until the government gets its way. No, this is an invasion of privacy. It's not necessary. The government should not be even thinking about this.
Honor someone who dedicated his life to serve this country. Justice Breyer, an Army veteran, constitutional scholar, retiring Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Justice Breyer, thank you for your service. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean it. Get up, stand up and see you.
I know nothing about this justice. I do know that the person that has been nominated to fill his seat was his
We all
clerk
know,
in the past.
no matter what
So-
your ideology, we all know one of the most serious constitutional responsibility a president has is nominating someone to serve on the United States Supreme Court. As I did 4 days ago, I've nominated the Circuit Court of Appeals, Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of our nation's top legal minds.
So, like I said, she used to be his clerk, which to me seems a bit like maybe he had something to do in the picking of people to fill his seat, which to me seems like a great idea because I mean, hopefully that'll make it less of a circus, I guess. I don't know. I know nothing about who has been picked or if she believes in what is it called, law from the bench, or if she is a true constitutionalist. But I mean, most of these Supreme Court judges, when they put people in, like this guy right here is Roberts, the left went absolutely ape shit, saying that he was going to turn the country into crap. And unless I'm mistaken, he's been like a fairly decent judge. I don't know much about any of the other ones, so
Will continue in Justice Breyer's legacy of excellence. A former top litigator in private practice, a former federal public defender, from a family of public school educators and police officers. She's a consensus builder. Since she's been nominated, she's received a broad range of support, including the Fraternal Order of Police and former judges supported by Democrats and Republicans. Folks, if we're to advance liberty and justice, we need to secure our border and fix the immigration system. And as you might guess, I think we can do both. At our border, we've installed new technology like cutting-edge scanners to better detect drug smuggling. We've set up joint patrols with Mexico and Guatemala to catch more human traffickers. We're putting in place dedicated immigration judges in a significant larger number so families fleeing persecution and violence can have their cases heard faster, and those who don't legitimately hear can be sent back. We're screening, we're securing commitments and supporting partners in South and Central America to host more refugees and secure their own borders. We can do all this while keeping lit the torch of liberty that has led a generation of immigrants to this land, my forebears and many of yours. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those with temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Revise our laws so businesses have workers they need and families don't wait decades to reunite. It's not only the right thing to do, it's economically smart thing to do. That's why the immigration reform is supported by everyone from labor unions to religious leaders to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Let's get it done once and for all.
okay, this is real simple. They're gonna fuck this up so bad, and I'm gonna say the reason that they're gonna fuck this up so bad is because the government has fucked up immigration for 30 fucking years. If you take a look, just I don't even care what the number is. Whatever number of illegal immigrants are in the United States, I want you to take that number, I want you to increase it by 20%, and that's the number of fucking green cards we should be issuing to Mexico or South America or all of these people should be it should be easy to get a green card. You should be able to show proof of ID at the border, get a quick background check, like you do a gun check, and then basically walk in with it and get your picture taken and walk out the other side in America with a goddamn green card. That's how easy it should be. But then everybody would have a goddamn ID. Imagine that. And then if they went and applied for a job, they could use that green card to maybe pay some taxes on that job. I mean, I don't know what these people are thinking. I don't know what this government, it's insane. Yes, build the wall. I kind of like the wall because the fentanyl problem in this country is out of fucking hand. We are so far behind the curve. Nobody's talking about it, and in 2 to 3 years nobody's going to be downtown because it's going to be filled with fucking junkies staring at the ground on fentanyl.
Folks, advancing liberty and justice also requires protecting the rights of women. The constitutional right affirmed by Roe v. Wade, standing precedent for half a century, is under attack as never before. If you want to
Okay, you know what? If you're going to attack the Second Amendment, I don't give a fuck about Roe v. Wade. I don't care. I don't care. Don't care. Don't care. I'm old. I'm not going to have I've had my kids. I'm done reproducing. Not my fucking problem. My kids, it's their fucking problem. If one of them gets knocked up and they're not married, I've already told them I will take the kids and I will raise them on a sailboat in the Caribbean to be sailors. So, yeah.
To go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose, and continue to advance maternal health care for all Americans. And folks, for our LGBTQ plus Americans, let's finally get the Bipartisan Equality Act to my desk. The onslaught of state laws targeting transgender Americans and their families, it's simply wrong. And I said last year, especially to our younger transgender Americans, I'll always have your back as your president so you can be yourself and reach your God-given potential. Folks, as I've just demonstrated, while it often appears we do not agree, and that we do agree on a lot more things than we acknowledge. I signed 80 bipartisan bills into law last year, from preventing government shutdowns, to protecting Asian Americans from still too common hate crimes, to reforming military justice, and will soon be strengthening the Violence Against Women Act that I first wrote 3 decades ago. And it's important. It's important for us to show the nation we can come together and do big things. So tonight I'm offering a unity agenda for the nation. 4 big things we can do together, in my view. First, beat the opioid epidemic. There's so much we can do. Increase funding for prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and recovery. Get rid of outdated rules and stop doctors that stop doctors from prescribing treatments. Stop the flow of illicit drugs by working with state and local law enforcement to go after the traffickers. And if you're suffering from addiction, you should know you're not alone. I believe in recovery, and I celebrate the 23 million Americans in recovery. Second, let's take on mental health, especially among our children whose lives and education have been turned upside down. The American Rescue Plan gave schools money to hire.
Okay. I'm going to pause right there. The Clinton administration came up with the term mainstreaming, and that term of mainstreaming was first applied to people that were in mental institutions, people that had been institutionalized because they were non-functional in society. So this term came up of mainstreaming, and what we'll do is the promise was, oh, we're going to open all these little houses all across America and neighborhoods and shit. We're going to put the people that are institutionalized into these working houses where they'll learn life skills and shit like that. Well, they closed all the institutions and none of those houses opened because guess what? People in normal neighborhoods don't want a house full of fucking insane people roaming around playing with their kids' toys. So they all end up in California because if you're homeless, even if you're not stupid, if you want to be homeless, go to California. They will give you like $600 a month for food to and needles and shit like that. Oh, fucking nightmare. What was I talking about here? What is this guy, what is Monkey Boy talking about? Oh my lord. You can't do anything with people that have been on fentanyl too long. You can't, they can't even, they're not even fucking smart enough to operate a cash register, even if you do sober them up for a couple years. their their brain is fucking fried. And meth is the same fucking thing, man. The prisons are full of fucking meth users getting free teeth that will never be able to operate a cash register again. I don't know what Yeah, it would be nice to go after the traffickers. The way to do that would be not to have opened the borders and created the problem in the first place, and to continue building that wall and to give out green cards to everyone who's not a criminal in their country of origin, so that they can go and they can report once a year and say, "Hey, this is me, and look, I'd like to get a new green card, get a new picture, and walk out the." But no, we have to have this fucking stupid, expensive stuff. This guy's playing with us. He's lying. They've been lying to us about the border for 30 something years. The only person that ever did anything about it was Trump. They fought him tooth and nail, and now they've created this crisis, and this is not the way to get out of it. And are we going to be handing out? I don't even know what you need to do fentanyl. Do you shoot it up? Do you smoke it? Do you stick it in your nose? Do you put it up your butt and fart? I have no idea. All I know is that these fuckers are just wandering around downtown looking for something they dropped on the goddamn ground. Yeah, oh my God, don't even get me started on that. I hate drug addicts. I hate drug addicts with a fucking passion.
Hire teachers and help students make up for lost learning. I urge every parent to make sure your school does just that. They have the money. We can all play a part. Sign up to be a tutor or a mentor. Children were also struggling before the pandemic: bullying, violence, trauma, and the harms of social media. As Frances Haugen, who is here tonight with us, has shown, we must hold social media platforms accountable for the national experiment they're conducting on our children for profit. Folks, thank you.
I don't know who she is.
Thank you for the courage you showed.
Should I? I'm
It's
a
time
very
to strengthen
isolated
privacy
person.
protections, ban targeted advertising to children, demand tech companies stop collecting personal data on our children, and let's get all Americans the mental health services they need. More people.
That's absolutely impossible. The way that all the infrastructure is set up right now, it is a dragnet. You would have to register the person as a minor somehow. They're still going to drag all of that minor's information, everything he does on the internet. It's like using a net to get tuna. You're going to get some dolphins.
Can turn for help and full parity between physical and mental health care if we treat it that way in our insurance. Look, the third piece of that agenda is support our veterans. Veterans.
Uh-oh. Do I start now, or do I so do I start now, or do I? Because right now, the way that I'm thinking is that Trump was pretty good to the veterans, to the VA, to the troops, and just in the last year, I've seen things that is happening at the VA. I don't think it would have happened under the previous administration, and it's starting to worry me that we're going backwards already with the VA. So he's going to talk about veterans. Oh, I don't know if I want to watch. Do I want to close my eyes? I might want to close my eyes.
Are the backbone and the spine of this country. They're the best of us. I've always believed that we have a sacred obligation to equip those we send to war and care for those and their family when they come home. My administration is providing assistance in job training, housing, and now helping lower-income veterans get VA care debt-free. And our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan have faced many dangers, one being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you.
Gulf War. Gulf War, months, nothing but black. Couldn't see fucking daylight. You're breathing that shit every day. You're coughing up fucking lung cookies like you're smoking 5 packs a day. 30 years, Nothing. Nothing. President Trump comes in, we get the burn pit registry, which includes Gulf War veterans and other campaigns, but mainly it started because of the Gulf War veterans. What's he going to do? Because that's already in place.
You have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan over 40 times. These burn pits that incinerate waste, the waste of war, medical and hazardous material, jet fuel, and so much more. And they come home, many of the world's fittest and best trained warriors in the world. Never the same. Headaches, numbness, dizziness. A cancer that would put them in a flag-draped coffin. I know.
What? What? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear whatever they're screaming, but now's not the time to be screaming at the State of the Union.
One of those soldiers was my son, Major Bo Biden. I don't know for sure if the burn pit that he lived near, that his hooch was near, in Iraq and
trying to talk all military and shit. Shut up, old man.
Is the cause of his brain cancer, the disease of so many other troops. But I am committed to find out everything we can. Committed to military families like Danielle Robinson from Ohio, the widow of Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson. He was born a soldier, Army National Guard, combat medic in Kosovo and Iraq, stationed near Baghdad, just yards from burn pits the size of football fields. Danielle is here with us tonight. They love going to Ohio State football games. And they love building Legos with their daughter. But cancer from prolonged exposure to burn pits ravaged Heath's lungs and body. Danielle says Heath was a fighter to the very end. He didn't know how to stop fighting, and neither did she. Through her pain, she found purpose to demand that we do better. Tonight, Danielle, we are going to do better. The VA is pioneering new ways of linking toxic exposure to disease, already helping more veterans get benefits. And tonight, I'm announcing we're expanding eligibility to veterans suffering from 9 respiratory cancers. I'm also calling on Congress to pass a law to make sure veterans devastated by toxic exposure in Iraq and Afghanistan finally get the benefits and the comprehensive health care they deserve. And fourth and last, let's end cancer as we know it. This is personal.
Trust me, that would be nice. Lofty goal there.
This is personal to me and to Jill and to Kamala and so many of you. So many of you have lost someone you love. Husband, wife, son, daughter, mom, dad. Cancer is the #2 cause of death in America, second only to heart disease. Last month, I announced the plan to supercharge the cancer moonshot that President Obama asked me to lead 6 years ago. Our goal is to cut cancer death rates by at least 50% over the next 25 years, and I think we can do better than that. Turn cancers from death sentences into treatable diseases. More support for patients and their families. To get there, I call on Congress to fund what I call ARPA-H, Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health.
More money.
Patterned after DARPA and the Defense Department.
More money.
Projects that led in DARPA to the internet, GPS, and so much more that make our forces more safer and be able to wage war with more clarity. ARPA will have a singular purpose: to drive breakthroughs in cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes, and more.
Why do I fear that this new entity to study and come up with cures is going to be the next fucking source of funding for the next COVID-19? Why do I have that fear?
A unity agenda for the nation. We can do these things.
Let's remember that there is clear documentation out there that DARPA turned down a request for funding for COVID type research, gain of function research. So now we have an organization that will fund it, besides Fauci making a new definition for gain of function so that he can fund it in 12 labs around the world, not just China, not just the United States.
It's within our power.
And
I don't see a partisan edge to any one of those
get in
four
trouble
things.
for that.
My fellow Americans,
get a strike.
Tonight, we've gathered in this sacred space, a citadel of democracy, in this Capitol. Generation after generation of Americans have debated great questions, amid great strife, and have done great things. We fought for freedom, expanded liberty, debated totalitarianism and terror. We built the strongest, freest, and most prosperous nation the world has ever known.
Guy's a fucking sellout.
Now is the hour.
I wouldn't trust
Our
him.
moment of
He ran for president against Obama. No way in hell I'm trusting this guy whatsoever. This guy's main connection to the business world, their claim to fame, was outsourcing American jobs. That's what they did. So fuck this guy.
Responsibility.
Fuck everything he's ever said.
Our test of resolve and conscience, of history itself. It is in this
When I agree with Mitt Romney, I'm wrong.
Moment that our character of this generation is formed. Our purpose is found. Our future is forged. Well, I know this nation. We'll meet the
God,
test.
is he going to cry?
Protect
what the fuck
freedom
is
and
wrong
liberty.
with this guy? And
Expand
why do people
fairness
elect
and
these people?
opportunity. And we will save democracy.
Is he tweaking?
As hard as those times
like
have
he's
been, I'm
fucking
more
tweaking.
optimistic about America today than I've been my whole life, because I see the future that's within our grasp.
Oh my God.
Because I know there's simply no.
Oh my God. Every time I see this guy, Droopy Dog, right? Droopy Dog? Is that who it is? Should I look that up? Hold on. We're going to pause here for just a second. Is that what it's called? It is Droopy Dog. Okay. All right. That's who he is, guys, kids. If you didn't know who Droopy Dog was.
Nothing beyond our capacity. We're the only nation on earth that has always turned every crisis we've faced into an opportunity. The only nation that can be defined by a single word: possibilities. So on this night, on our 245th year as a nation, I've come to report on the state of the nation, the State of the Union. And my report is this: the State of the Union is strong because you, the American people, are strong.
Oh, that is bad. Oh, that is bad, because the last year has been the worst year in America that I can personally remember. And I remember sitting in the back seat of my grandma's car waiting for hours to get $10 worth of gas, because that was the max that you could buy, was $10 worth of gas. And that was the Carter administration. This is the worst. This could be worse than the Carter administration. I don't know, but it definitely feels the worst that the worst footing this country has ever been on. Supply chain problems, inflation problems, bank problems, government overreach in every sector of life now. Freedom of speech is completely ignored by the town square, right? So it used to be that, any town, if they had a town square, you could get a soapbox and you could preach. This is old English common law. You could preach. You have the right to get up and say anything you want in the town square. And we've created these digital town squares where free speech is not protected, is not valued, is not, yeah,
We are
that's a
stronger
lie.
today. We are stronger today than we were a year ago.
Wrong. Totally wrong.
And we'll be stronger a year from now than we are today. This is our
Probably.
moment
I can't
to
imagine
meet and
things getting
overcome the
screwed up
challenges of
anymore.
our time. And we will, as one people, one America, the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him.
Go get who? Go get who? Putin? Go get what? What are we supposed to go get? What are we supposed to do? It's like, go get some ice cream, Joe, and chill the fuck out. All right, it doesn't look like there's anything of interest here. I don't want to watch him walk around to the end.
Take a
We'll
look
see
at how
here.
that compares. C-SPAN tweeted this out earlier tonight. A comparison of length of speeches from previous State of the Union addresses. President Biden coming in at around 1 hour and 2 minutes, according to CNN's Jake Tapper. We'll see if that what the exact number is, but that
God, who
would be
cares?
a little the caucus leaders from both parties and leadership who decided. As we mentioned, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds will be giving the GOP
of moving America forward.
Okay.
And here is Governor Reynolds live.
All right,
Kim
let's
Reynolds,
see.
Governor
This is the
of the great
Republican
state
response.
of Iowa. Like you, I just watched the president's address. I listened as the governor of
You see, she's got that little pin too. Man, oh man, I want that little pin now. I want one too. Is there like Ukrainian USPin.gov that I can go to and get a free one? What the fuck's going
our
on?
state, as a mom and a grandmother of 11 who's worried our country is on the wrong track. We're now 1 year into his presidency, and instead of moving America forward, it feels like President Biden and his party have sent us back in time to the late 70s and early 80s, when runaway inflation was hammering families, a violent crime wave was crashing our cities, and the Soviet Army was trying to redraw the world map. Even before taking the oath of office, the president told us that he wanted to, quote, make America respected around the world again, and to unite us here at home. He's failed on both fronts. The disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal did more than cost American lives. It betrayed our allies and emboldened our enemies. North Korea is testing missiles again at an alarming rate. The Speaker of the House recently warned our Olympic athletes not to speak out against China. And now Russia has launched an unprovoked, full-scale military invasion of Ukraine, an attack on democracy, freedom, and the rule of law. Now all Americans must stand united in solidarity with the brave people of Ukraine as they courageously defend their country against Putin's tyranny as they fight for their freedom. But we shouldn't ignore what happened in the run-up to Putin's invasion, waiving sanctions on Russian pipelines while eliminating oil production here at home, focusing on political correctness rather than military readiness, reacting to world events instead of driving them. Weakness on the world stage has a cost, and the president's approach to foreign policy has consistently been too little, too late. It's time for America to once again project confidence. It's time to be decisive. It's time to lead. But we can't project strength abroad if we're weak at home. And that's what I want to discuss with you tonight. The President and Democrats in Congress have spent the last year either ignoring the issues facing Americans or making them worse. They were warned that spending trillions would lead to soaring inflation. They were told that their
True.
anti-energy policies would send gas prices to new heights.
True.
But they plowed ahead anyway, raising the price at the pump by 50%
True.
and pushing inflation to a 40-year high.
True.
4 decades ago, when our nation was last reeling from inflation, I was a young working mom just starting out. My husband Kevin worked days while I watched our girls, and then we would literally switch. We would pass in the yard as he was coming home, and I was leaving to work evenings at the local grocery store. From across that checkout counter, I saw the pain of inflation on my neighbors' faces. I saw what happens when prices rise faster than wages. The Biden administration believes inflation is a, quote, high-class problem. I can tell you, it's an everybody problem. I saw moms and dads' paychecks buy them less and less. I watched working people choose which essentials to take home and which ones to leave behind. And now President Biden's decisions have a whole new generation feeling that same pain. When I took the oath of office 5 years ago, I promised Iowans that I would never lose sight of who I was working for, that I wouldn't become detached from the problems they were facing, from the problems that I had faced myself. But you don't have to check groceries to see what high inflation does to people. You just need to step outside of the DC bubble. Talk to Americans about what's on their mind. Ask them, what are your concerns? What keeps you up at night? And they'll tell you. And I can tell you what's not on that list. They won't tell you that spending trillions more and bankrupting their children is the answer to their problems. They won't tell you that we should be paying people not to work. And they certainly won't tell you that we should give billions in tax giveaways to millionaires and billionaires in Democrat-controlled states like California, New York, and New Jersey. But that's what the Biden administration has been pushing for over the last year. And that's all part of Build Back Better. Thankfully, the president's agenda didn't pass.
A lot of it has
because
nothing to do with
even members of
infrastructure
his
and Build
own
Back Better.
party said enough is enough. Well, the American people share that view. Enough is enough. And it's not just with DC spending. Americans are tired of a political class trying to remake this country into a place where an elite few tell everyone else what they can and cannot say, what they can and cannot believe. They're tired of people pretending the way to end racism is by categorizing everybody by their race. They're tired of politicians who tell parents they should sit down, be silent, and let government control their kids' education and future. Frankly, they are tired of the theater, where politicians do one thing when the cameras are rolling and another when they believe you can't see them, where governors and mayors enforce mandates but don't follow them, where elected leaders tell their citizens to stay home while they sneak off to Florida for sun and fun, where they demand that your child wear
this
a
is getting
mask,
pretty petty.
but they go maskless.
Are you done?
So
Are you
you've
done
heard
soon?
the excuses. They were just holding their breath. But it's the American people who are waiting to exhale, waiting for the insanity
Okay, we got to the metaphor
stop.
she was building up to.
We now live in a country
So
where
dramatic.
violent crime is out of control.
It is
Liberal
out of control.
prosecutors are letting criminals off easy, and many prominent Democrats still want to defund the police. You know, it seems like everything is backwards. The Biden administration requires vaccines for Americans who want to go to work or protect this country, but not for migrants who illegally cross the border. The Department of Justice treats parents like domestic terrorists, but looters and shoplifters roam free. The American people are left to feel like they're the enemy. This is not the same country it was a year ago.
Give a green card to anybody who shows up at the border without a criminal record.
The president tried to paint a different picture tonight, but his actions over the last 12 months don't match the rhetoric. It's not what he promised when he took office. But it doesn't have to be that way. There is an alternative. Across the nation, Republican governors and legislators are showing Americans what conservative leadership looks like, what it means to respect the people we serve, to hear them out, to stand up for them and walk alongside them. We know that our problems require bold action, but we also know that bold
Oh my God,
action
is she still
doesn't
talking?
have to mean government action. It's Americans making their own decisions for their own families and future. Republican governors face the same COVID-19 virus head-on. But we honored your freedoms and saw right away that lockdowns and
This is
school
true.
closures, they came with their own significant cost.
Huge
That
costs.
mandates weren't the answer.
Fucked up a whole
And
generation
we
of kids.
actually listened to the science, especially with kids in masks and kids in schools. What happened and is still happening to our children over the last 2 years is unconscionable. Learning loss, isolation, anxiety, depression.
I'll tell you what's funny here. She's talking about this. She's talking about these kids. I've had this argument with a few people. I play online games, and as soon as COVID hit, Rust, which is a game that I have had for a very, very long time, I was one of the first people to buy it. Um, the average age dropped from like 20 to 14, and that means that there's like 10-year-olds playing it now. So you'd get on Rust, and it'd be loaded up with 10-year-olds being toxic as F. Holy cow, are these little kids, and they just learn to be toxic, really toxic, like crazy toxic in game. And that's what these kids did, is they went online. So many times I'd run across a kid and I'd be like, why aren't you in class? Why aren't you in school? And the kid in Rust would tell me, I'm in my Zoom class right now. And I'm like, how are you in your Zoom class and playing Rust at the same time? You're not learning anything. So, yeah, a whole generation of kids messed up. At least thousands and thousands of kids that played Rust are never going to be able to integrate into society the right way. I don't know what to tell you. You screwed your children up. Whole generation. Mine were already old enough to not be screwed up. So,
In so many states, our kids have been left behind, and so many will never catch up. That's why Iowa was the first state in the nation to require that schools open their doors. I was attacked by the left. I was attacked by the media.
never catch up. Look at all of the schools in California that are public. You look at all of the schools in New York that are public, and you see the most dismal reading rates you could possibly imagine. I mean, just dismal. It was bad. The reading rates were bad in the 80s and the 90s, and I believe they're actually worse now because of dumb shit like social promotion and, oh, we can't have a 15-year-old with the 13-year-olds because, then it would hurt his feelings. And it's like, then he walks out and he doesn't know how to read. What's he going to do then?
But it wasn't a hard choice. It was the right choice. And keeping schools open is only the start of the pro-parent, pro-family revolution
right.
that Republicans are leading in Iowa and states across this country. Republicans believe that parents matter. It
What
was
about
true
libertarians?
before the pandemic, and it has never been more important to say out loud. Parents matter. They have a right to know and to have a say in what their kids are being taught. Families also have every right to live in a safe and a secure community. And that begins with a safe and secure country. But the Biden administration has refused to secure our border.
Yep.
They've refused to provide the resources to stop human trafficking.
Yep.
To stop the staggering influx of deadly drugs coming into our neighborhoods.
Yep.
They've refused to protect you. With Texas and Arizona leading the way, I, along with Republican governors from several states, have sent resources to the border.
You're our
And
champion.
we've actually gone to the
Yay.
border, something that our president and vice president
Just
have
fucking
yet to
represent
do
your
since
state.
taking office. On the economy, the contrast couldn't be more stark. While Democrats in D.C. are spending trillions, sending inflation soaring, Republican leaders around the country are balancing budgets and cutting taxes, because we know that money spent on Main Street is better than money spent on bureaucracy. Today, I signed legislation that eliminates Iowa's tax on retirement income and
my
sets
God.
our tax rate at
Let's move there.
3.9%. That's less than half of what it was just 4 years ago. And it shouldn't come as a surprise that out of the top 20 states with the lowest unemployment rates, 17 have Republican governors. Republicans may not have the White House, but we're doing what we can to fill the leadership vacuum. And on the issues that are affecting Americans, Republicans are leading. We're standing up for parents and kids.
Yay.
We're standing up for life.
Yay.
We're keeping our communities safe
Come
and
on, are you done
thanking
yet?
those in
Are we
uniform.
getting to the end?
We're fighting to restore America's energy independence,
I
and
think
that includes biofuels. We're getting people back to work, not paying them to stay home. Most of all, we're respecting your
They act like they're paying people to stay home. How the fuck are you paying people to stay home? It's been like a year or more. Nobody's living off of the $1,200 check. 1,200. Was it $1,200? It was $1,200, right? It wasn't $12,000. It was $1,200. And as far as people getting, unemployment, people pay into unemployment. Most of the people that went in onto unemployment have been paying into unemployment without being unemployed for 20 years. This Republican narrative is getting very old. People got $1,200 checks from the government and they bought TVs, right? I mean, or they bought fentanyl. Nobody was, well, I mean, a lot of people got that money and they were out of a job because people were closing businesses down.
freedom. Behind
But oh my God, if I hear people are getting paid, who's getting paid to stay home? That's what I want to know. Is there a government? Is there paid to stay home.gov that I'm missing or something here?
me stands Iowa's
Is that coming
Capitol,
with
where we display
crackpipe.gov?
our state motto, our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain. And those aren't just empty words. It's a belief that the greatness of this state and this country lies in our people, not government. You shouldn't have to wake up every morning and worry about the next thing the government is going to do to you,
It's gonna fuck
your
up.
business, or your
The
children.
next thing the government's
If
gonna
we
fuck up.
as elected leaders are doing our job, then the government is working well, but operating in the background. It's supporting the ingenuity and spirit of
all
our
of us-
people, not
All of a
drowning
sudden,
them out.
Republicans
It's keeping
understand
them
limited
safe,
government.
not
All of
restricting
a
their
sudden, by the
freedom.
way, guys. They haven't for
That's
the last
what
30
I believe,
years.
That's what Republicans believe, and that's what Republicans are doing.
Aren't you a governor?
I am so blessed
not what
to be the governor of
it's
Iowa,
not what the federal government
where
thinks.
people are humble, hardworking, and patriotic. We take care of each other. And yes, we are, as
hardworking,
they say,
patriotic.
Iowa nice. But you don't have to be from Iowa to see that those are the values of America at its best. All of America. Over the last few years, I've put my faith in Iowans, and they haven't let me down.
Something here.
I encourage this president to
on.
do the same.
Will
to
you stop
put
talking?
his faith in you, the American people, who have never wavered in your belief in this country, regardless of who leads it. Because you know, you've shown that the soul of America isn't about who lives in the White House. It's men and women like you in every corner of this nation who are willing to step up and take responsibility for your communities, for your neighbors, and ultimately for yourselves. By that most important measure at least, the state of our union is indeed strong. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Yay. There's a
And that was
Democratic
Kim
response
Reynolds
too.
from Des Moines. She was appointed governor in 2017 when longtime Governor Terry Branstad became the ambassador to China in the Trump administration. She won on her own in 2018. Time to hear your voices now. What do you think the State of the Union is? What did you think of both President Biden's speech and the Republican response? Michael in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, you're first up. Go ahead and make your comment.
Is that not live? Is that not how it works? I thought there was a Democratic response. No. C-SPAN? No Democratic response. Well, okay, let's well, I can't really show any of these, but yeah, this is Droopy Dog. If you don't know who Droopy Dog is, man oh man, go check out Droopy Dog because you will like Droopy Dog. Everybody likes Droopy Dog. Um yeah. So that sucked. I don't believe any of it. So, yeah, I do this every State of the Union. Well, I don't stream it, but I watch it. Normally there's a Democratic response. That I'm worried about. I don't want to do who is that? Is that a New York person or something? Thought Rashida Tlaib was doing the Democratic response. Or is that that's from 2 years ago? So we're not doing that this year. What? Yep. No more results. Okay, well, that sucked. That sucked bad. Not happy. Anyway, same shit, 30 years.